Welcome to the latest edition of Spooky News from Spooky Ventures. Since today is Friday the 13th, it seemed an appropriate date to begin our official spooky season run of episodes. As I always say, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, but it's nice when the rest of the world aligns on the same page as those of us in the spooky tribe. Before we get to the news, as I always do, I need to get a couple announcements out of the way. First, if you want more information about any of the things talked about here, there are two places you can find that. All the source URL and more information links are in the details section for this video on YouTube. Secondly, they are also included as title cards after the main video is done. Next, like everything Spooky Ventures, this YouTube channel is supposed to be interactive, so please interact. You can do that by liking and sharing our videos. You can also do that by subscribing to the channel. Your comments are always welcome too. You can get in touch via email at keepitspooky@spookyventures.com as well. If you have news items you think we should include in a future spooky news episode, that would be a great way to share them. Now with that out of the way, we should check in with our remote reporter DB Lovecraft. DB, where are you today?
Hey Gary, actually I'm in Scary Gary's castle at the moment. That's where Scary Gary is found when we're doing episodes of Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary. We had some last minute changes that had to be done to an upcoming episode, so they had me come in to do that, and as long as I was here, it seemed a good place to shoot today's Spooky News segments.
Alright, we'll get back to you shortly, but I'll get us going with the first news items for this broadcast. Leading it off is a topic specifically related to spooky season. If you get the impression that Halloween-related stuff showed up earlier this year, you aren't imagining things. It turns out that due to increased consumer demand in the seasonal merchandise, many retailers have been getting the goods out earlier than they have in the past. Personally, I think that means we're just that much closer to the motto of spooky being a lifestyle rather than a season becoming more mainstream. If nothing else, it means that perhaps the spooky tribe is growing in numbers. Maybe someday there will be more of us than there are of those who don't like spooky things. Speaking of those critics of the spooky, here's a story that showcases that mindset. It's also something we see every year. This is just the first such story I've seen this year. Marianne Peters of Fairfield, Ohio, has apparently heard from the city saying that they have had complaints about the timing of her Halloween display. Each year, her elaborate decorations for the holiday are popular with residents. This year, though, she started putting up the display the second week in August. Now, she's not doing it earlier this year to make a statement or anything. It's because her husband is going through chemotherapy for cancer, and without his help, it's going to take her longer to get it all done. Also, the city told her that she's not doing anything wrong, but they wanted her to know that they had received complaints. Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, she's also received offers of help getting everything set up from fans of her annual display. From there, let's turn our attention to an upcoming event for the Halloween season. If you have watched a good number of my film reviews, you know that I'm a huge fan of Charles Band and his Full Moon Entertainment movies. Well, if you're going to be in Cleveland, Ohio late in October, you might want to plan on going to an event they will be hosting. Charles Band's Church of Chills Live will be held in the 130-year-old church that is reported to be haunted. It will include celebrity appearances, prizes, and much more spooky fun. Tickets to the event will be limited to 200 seats and will go on sale on October 1st for $125. The event will be held at 7 p.m. on October 26th and will include a screening of a brand new full moon film, and it will be filmed for inclusion in an upcoming documentary about the filmmaker. It would certainly be an event worth attending. Now for some music news, we'll turn things over to DB Lovecraft. DB, you're up.
Thanks Gary. We'll start with a new album release. Guitarist Slash, who is probably best known for his work with Guns N' Roses, released a new horror-based vinyl album. It features 11 original pieces the rocker created for Halloween Horror Nights' Universal Monsters over the last 6 years. The thing is, it's only available at Universal Studios Hollywood, so you'll need to get there if you want a copy. Continuing with music, we'll look at a new music video from Sabrina Carpenter. The video should be of interest to horror fans for a couple of reasons. First, fresh off Beetlejuice, the video features Jenna Ortega. Secondly, it's packed full of visual references to horror films. Continuing on with Beetlejuice news, the movie opened last weekend and it ruled at the box office. It made more than $145 million worldwide with $110 million in U.S. ticket sales. Now back to you, Gary.
Thanks, DB. Turning to movie news, there are quite a few trailers that have released recently that we should talk about. First up, the new version of Stephen King's Salem's Lot has been in limbo for quite some time. Well, it will be hitting Max on October 11th, and they have released a trailer that you can check out now. The third Terrifier movie will be opening in theaters on that same date, October 11th, and a new trailer for that one is also hit. Honestly, since it's set at Christmas time, I still wish they had stuck with the original timetable and released it in December, but we'll take it when we can get it, and you can see that red band trailer for it now. A week later, on October 18th, Smile 2 will hit theaters. It's another that has a new trailer released. I found the original interesting in some ways because it has some similarities to one of my short stories that I found intriguing. I'm looking forward to seeing this one. Looking to next year, January sees a couple horror movies released that have just seen trailers hit YouTube. The first of those is the new version of The Wolfman, which definitely has my interest. The second is a new takeoff on the original incarnation of Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie. The new film is called Screamboat, and it will hit theaters in January, but the first trailer was recently released. Now back to you, DB, for some spooky television news.
Thanks, Gary. We'll continue with the trailers with our first story. Coming next year to Hulu, the Alien franchise gets a new series called Alien Earth. Bringing the xenomorphs to our home planet seems really frightening, and the trailer teases that sense of fear. And speaking of fear, were you a fan of Scare Tactics, the hidden camera show where unwitting people were put in frightening situations? Well, it's coming back, this time with Jordan Peele as executive producer. There's a new trailer released for the series, and the series will be hitting the USA Network on October 4th. Finally, there's a new live-action zombie series coming to Sci-Fi that is based on a comic book series. While there is no date announced, we know that the show, which is based on the comic book series Revival, is in development for the network. That gives everyone time to catch up on the source material. Now back to you, Gary.
Thanks for that, DB. That brings us to the end of the main news article coverage. As you probably know if you've watched a few of these, we'll have some dates from our spooky calendar before we sign off. Before that, though, I need to restate a couple of things. First, this YouTube channel, like all things Spooky Ventures, is meant to be interactive, so please interact. You can do that by liking our videos and sharing our videos. You can also do that by subscribing to our channel. Please comment and feel free to contact us directly. Next, remember that you can find more information about everything we talk about in this show two places. First, you'll find all the source and more information URLs in the details section of this video. Secondly, if you stick around after we're done talking, you'll find them all as title cards at the end of the video. Now, before I turn it back over to DB Lovecraft for a look at the events coming up on our spooky calendar, if you would like to check out our calendar, go to the main page at spookyventures.com and scroll to the bottom for the link. That calendar lists dates that should be of interest to fans of all things spooky. Now here's DB to give us some listings on the calendar.
Thanks, Gary. First 3 horror movies open today. Those movies are Believer, Booger, and Speak No Evil. Next Tuesday the 17th is Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira's birthday. The Graveyard Club Revenge Game will be published that same day. It's by R.L. Stein. In something that feels self-promotional, the newest episode of Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary and me will be hitting this YouTube channel on the 17th as well. The Babadook returns to select theaters on Thursday the 19th in honor of the 10th anniversary of its release. 5 horror movies open on Friday the 20th. Those films are A Different Man, Bad Man, Beazle, Never Let Go, and The Substance. Finally, Stephen King's birthday is on Saturday the 21st. That's the rundown for the next couple weeks, but you can find more dates on the calendar by checking it out for yourself. Now back to you, Gary.
Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Spooky News from Spooky Ventures. If all goes according to plan, we'll be back with another edition in 2 weeks. In the meantime, remember, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, so always keep it spooky. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.